Hello, and welcome to episode 37 of Mish Mash Mayhem.
Mish Mash Mayhem.
The podcast where we take the schoolyard conversation of, hey, which one of these fictional characters would win in a fight, and we talk about it on a podcast.
That's what this is. Welcome to our podcast. Our 37th. Well, I mean, technically it's our 39th. Wait, did the special episode count as a number?
No, none of the specials we've done have counted as numbers.
So, in which case, it's almost our 30th, but it's the 37th in this series.
It's the 37th canonical episode.
Yes.
I mean, we did the outtakes episode last Christmas. There'll be an outtakes episode this Christmas as well.
Oh, so then there's the 40th.
Well, we did the outtakes one. We did the two crossovers with Parliamentary Language, but one of them was on their channel, so it's not our episode.
But we did record it.
We did record it.
Okay, yeah, there's arguments either. But either way, number 37. Do you want to know a fun fact about the number 37?
I do, yeah.
Well, let me Google it. It is the 12th prime number.
Ooh.
And it's the 5th lucky prime, the 1st irregular prime, the 3rd unique prime, and the 3rd Cuban prime. It's the smallest prime that is not also a super singular prime. These are just words. Or, since the greatest prime factor of 37 squared plus 1 is 1,370 is 137.
Should we move on?
Yes.
So I'm Chris.
And I'm Wade.
I like that. In Mish Mash Mayhem canon, last week just means whenever the last moment of time that was convenient to what we're talking about.
Well, yes. Last week.
It's like when people go, oh yeah, the other day.
The other day, yeah.
And the other day could mean anything between 4 seconds ago and last year.
Yeah.
And it's last week is very much our version of that.
Our equivalent. Yeah, so what are we here to do today?
So that's why I asked you.
It is. That's why I'm re-asking it to answer it. It's like in Red Dwarf when Rimmer gets asked a question about quasars.
To answer, what is a quasar?
And what does its red light spectrum tell us? We must first answer, what is a quasar? What is a spectrum? And why is it so frequently associated with quasar? Or something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce both of our characters this time round. You may remember, if you joined us last time, or if you didn't, that we have a reigning champion of AnakZahard from Tower of God webcomic, having won 2 previous fights against Krauser and then last time against Perry the Platypus. She now has her Mish and her Mash. Therefore will be retiring at the end of this episode, no matter either in a body bag or in the Hall of Fame.
Ooh. But either way, there will be mayhem.
There will be mayhem. So we're going to be introducing our characters, telling you a bit about their skills, what they bring to a fight, how buff they are, what weapons they might have on hand and are proficient in, and also what their favourite type of pastry is.
What's your favourite type of pastry? Do you mean, when you say favourite type of pastry, do you mean their favourite type of breakfast cake? Or do you mean they're a puff or a short crust person?
So now, originally I was thinking that, but now I think the generic term for pastry and all the kind of cakes and stuff it embodies is a nicer question. Because, if someone asked me oh, you can only use this type of pastry ever again, I'd be like, puff, I guess?
No, what? A short crust, man.
I don't know, a short crust can be too thick and stodgy sometimes.
Yeah, but puff's just air. We have different views on pastry, and to be honest, I don't know if this friendship can continue. I
mean, it will.
You don't have a choice. We will remain friends. I'm not letting this pastry debacle come between us.
I'll make something that's normally made with short crust pastry with puff pastry, and you'll make something that's usually made with puff pastry with short crust pastry, and we'll see which one of them is better.
Okay.
Or not necessarily which one of them is better, but which one of the, if they're still kind of good.
Sure.
Yeah. But anyway, after we've decided all that, we're gonna throw them in a fight to the death in a randomly selected arena. How is this arena randomly selected? I hear you cry.
How is this arena randomly selected? I cry.
It is done by rolling
the Die of Death.
Die of Death. Our 20-sided, skull-encrusted. It's not encrusted, it's more like encrusted. There's a skull inside it. Why did I say skull? So weird. Skull.
Yes, you are weird.
Skull.
If you've forgotten how words work.
Skull. Whatever. Skull encrusted 20-sided dice to determine the arena. We will then decide about the arena based on our whims on the day. There are no rules until we make them, and then they're gonna have a little wee bit of a tuffle, bit of fisticuffs at dawn if they have fists, all that jazz.
Okay, so I guess we need to introduce our characters.
Yes, we do.
And as always, we will start with the reigning champ, and as is often, that's your character.
It's not that often that it's my character.
I wonder. I'm gonna have a look and see which character goes on more.
I think you've had more in the Hall of Fame than I have.
In the actual Hall of Fame, yes, I have, on a ratio of 4-2. But I reckon I've had a lot more that have only been in it for one fight.
Oh, that's an interesting statistic.
You know what? I was wrong.
Oh.
No, you've had a lot more that have been in it for one fight. I've had quite a lot that have been in it for two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright,
Never mind. Anyway, speaking of someone who's been in it for two, our current reigning champion, AnakZahard. Imagine this. You're in a weird world where there's a weird tower, of floors of difficult tests. What kind of tests? Normally tests that test, and I'm saying test a lot, physical, mental, strategic, constitutional capabilities in order to allow you to get to the top. AnakZahard is one of the people trying to climb the tower for revenge. What revenge, you say? The revenge of her dead mother. Her mother, who indeed was a princess of Zahard. Therefore bestowing upon her daughter the mock title, I guess, Princess of Zahard, but a pseudo blood connection to Zahard himself, the ruler of the tower. AnakZahard, climbing the tower for revenge, is incredibly well driven and is very capable, and she knows it. I'm capable and I know it. Very physically strong, swift, and endurable. Sometimes I wish people could see our faces when we make up words like this.
Yes.
Yeah, you're just like halfway through a sentence, you're like, oh shit, what word do I need to use? Durable. And then, just comes out. That's the word. Anyway, being incredibly powerful, swift, and endurable, she tends to strike down opponents with physical Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat. She doesn't challenge them to a game of Mortal Kombat on like a SNES or something.
We were talking about this earlier. If you could have, like an arcade machine.
Yeah.
If you could have an arcade machine in your house, what game would you pick?
Dig Dug?
Dig Dug's pretty cool. Because I was saying I'd probably have Mortal Kombat.
I mean, Mortal Kombat would be cool too. I don't know. I've never really played many arcade machines. I appreciate there are a lot of games that I've played which are on arcade machines, but I don't know what they are.
What's that? I mean, I did say that as well. I was like, there's this game that I remember playing as a kid on an arcade machine. And I remember playing it with Sean a few times, and not many arcades had it, so it was one of those things that when we saw it, we were like, oh my god, there's that game, we must go and play it. And you basically played as guys with big vacuums, and you had to suck up monsters.
Right, so it's like Luigi's Mansion.
I mean, kind of, except it was only ever one screen. Like, you couldn't go off the screen or whatever, it just kept spawning monsters.
Yeah.
But I remember it being really fun, and I have no idea what this game is called, and I've tried to Google it a few times over the years, but because I don't know what it's called, and you can't just like put in arcade game with vacuums because it doesn't come up.
I assume it was like a kind of laser gun inspired game.
No, you didn't play it with a light gun.
Oh, really?
No, yeah, it was like a 2D sort of screen thing. Like I guess it worked kind of similar to Dig Dug, except instead of inflating things, you suck them up. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, was it Ghostbusters, maybe, of some kind? No? Yeah, they suck up a lot of ghoulies, don't they?
Yeah, but they do it with, like, photon packs. They don't do it with vacuums.
Well, they look kind of like vacuum.
But, no. I don't know. I'm happy... Well, I'm not necessarily happy, but I'm content with the fact that I will never find out what this game is.
Fair enough. But anyway, yes, we'll defeat opponents with her physical prowess, and if that fails her, or if she deems it necessary, or if she fancies using it, she also comes equipped with the Green April. What is that, I hear you say?
What is that?
Lovely, thank you.
I like this sort of... I was going to say audience participation, but I'm not technically the audience, but...
I mean, you'll do. Green April is one of the 13-month series of, like, super cool swords, or sword-like weapons. Green April being a long kind of hook-like sword weapon, But it's not just that, because that doesn't sound that cool, does it? If I said, it's called the Green April, and it's a kind of long hook looking like sword, and it's really super cool, you'd be like, that sounds like a kind of big green hook thing. And I'd be like, yeah, you're right. But then, it's what's known in the business as an ignition weapon. These can be triggered by people with exceptional abilities and way to, manipulate almost like, I guess, the spirits of items. Some of them are definitely spirity. Allows it to change into its far superior form, which is a kind of mobile, dynamic, lengthy, whip-like thing with multiple appendages. In the almost manga, it goes up to quite a lot, but we're restricting it to 2 for the sake of our own sanity.
Yay, because I have so little of that left.
Hooray for that. So yeah, AnakZahard. She's a anthropomorphic lizard woman with a bob cut like Velma from Scooby-Doo, but she's much more badass than Velma from Scooby-Doo. Sorry, any Velma fans. She just is. I'm willing to bet if we put Velma in here, she would not do well.
Yeah, you've ruined next episode.
You've ruined next episode. I'll just take her off my list. It's said, in terms of personality-wise, that her, pride in her abilities, her, want and knowledge that she can do things, her almost arrogance is her biggest strength, because she'll push through, she'll carry on, and, she'll endure through to win the fight. But it's also one of her greatest weaknesses, because she won't have the mind for strategy to just, hold back, take your time, or do whatever is needed. Instead, it's all about proving you can do it. That's definitely not sex, by the way.
It's definitely not sex?
Yes.
Okay. Is that because you don't need to prove you can do sex?
Yes.
Because I don't need to prove I can do it, but it would be interesting if I could prove if I could do it competently.
You don't need to prove it to me.
Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty certain there's evidence out there that you could do it fairly competently.
Alright, in which case, well done me on proving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, in previous episodes, I have mentioned that she has the ability to enhance her strength, her speed, her endurance by manipulating Shinsu, which is this kind of chakra-like energy that resonates and permeates the tower. But unless the tower comes up as an arena, which I don't think is even on the list, that's not going to be super relevant. But it's kind of cool to know that she can do that. AnakZahard, her favourite pastry, I don't know, got no idea to be honest, probably something with jam in it. Jam pastry.
Some sort of tart, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or a scone.
What?
Scone?
Are scones pastries?
I don't know, probably not.
I've got a list of pastries, and it's fucking long.
Well, it sounds like we don't have time to go through that list.
No, but I'm going to mention 3 of them. There's one called a borek from the Ottoman Empire. It looks like a pancake. It's a family of baked or fried filled pastries made of a thin flaky dough known as yufka, filled often with cheese or kasar, whatever that is, minced meat, potatoes and vegetables. So it's kind of like a flat Cornish pasty.
Cheesy pasty.
Cheesy Cornish pasty. That's flat. Okay. Next. Oh, this sounds like you'd like it. It's a curry puff.
Yeah.
It's from Southeast Asia. It's a small pie consisting of curry and potatoes. So that is literally exactly what it says on the tin.
Meat and potato pie, but with curry sauce. Love it. I'm there for it.
All right, and then let's find one. That one looks like a bloody roll of needle thing. There's a roze koek from the Netherlands. It looks like a pink cake, and roze koek means pink cake, and it's a typical Dutch pastry. That's a small flat cake with a layer of pink fondant.
Yeah, I'll give that a go.
There you go. There's 3 pastries from around the world. Don't say you never learn anything.
We did learn something. We learned to be scared of mums with meat cleavers.
Yes. All right, so who have we got facing up against Miss Zahard?
So, you may remember, my clue is that it was an anthropomorphic animal who works as a janitor as his day job, but then fights crime.
I do remember that, but I mean, I literally have no idea.
Have no idea.
No, don't know any janitor animals.
What about you at home? Do you have an idea? That's doing like those kids' TV shows, It is Penrod Pooch. also known as HongKongPhooey.
What?
What?
I don't know who this is.
You don't know HongKongPhooey?
Oh.
Oh. HongKongPhooey was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon about Penrod Pooch, who is a dog who is a janitor at like the police station.
Right.
And then, like, obviously, because he works at the police station, he'd hear about, like, some crime happening. And then he'd jump into one of the filing cabinets, like, in it, the bottom drawer.
Yeah.
And then he'd get stuck, and his pet cat Spot would have to kick it, or whatever. And then he'd fly out the top filing cabinet in, like, karate gear. And then he'd be like, yeah, I'm HongKongPhooey, and I'm going to stop crime.
Fair enough.
But it was done with very, you know, like, that sort of old cartoon humour, like... Well, I mean, it's Hanna-Barbera, so it's like the same as like the Flintstones or Yogi.
Or the Hair Bear Bunch.
Yeah, it's all that sort of very like silly style of thing.
The shit I loved as a kid, but absolutely detest now.
Yes. I mean, I wouldn't say I detest it now, but it's certainly like, I mean, it's a very dated humour. Well, I don't think it's necessarily even dated. It's a very simple humour. It is very much aimed for kids.
Yeah, I've outgrown it.
Yeah, I feel like there's some kids shows you can still watch as an adult and like really enjoy, and I think those are less so.
Yeah, you wouldn't catch me watching the Hair Bear Bunch, for example.
No, but I just thought it'd be nice to bring a classic cartoon character.
Bring away.
Okay, like last week, very much where I was like, hey, you know how some characters don't do a lot of things. Again, that is quite true. But the difference is, I mean, I guess I haven't really watched HongKongPhooey since I was about 6 or whatever, so the information I can give you is perhaps a bit less there. But basically, so he goes out and he fights crime with trying to do it with his kung fu moves. He gets all of his techniques from his the big book of kung fu that he carries around with him. So like he'll be like, yes, I need to use like every now and again he'll be fighting for a while. And then he'll be like, oh, I know what would solve this situation. I just need to look up this maneuver, and he'll get out his book and he'll like flick through a few pages and then just be like, oh yeah, it would be this thing. But they're all like really stupid things. I guess partially in like with the state, like kind of the humour of the day and such, it's the very kind of, not like proper racism, but kind of slight mild racism of the 70s. Where it's just kind of like vaguely Asian sounding things. Yeah. Where like I tried to watch up a couple of clips before we started recording, just to kind of try and get myself in a HongKongPhooey mindset. And like on the one I saw on that, he gets out, he's like, yes, I need to look up my favourite kung fu technique, and it's like, the chow mein chop or something. Because chow mein is just a Chinese word, like, but it's food. So it's all kind of it's silly things like that, you know, like they're not proper kung fu things, but anyway. There is also the ongoing thing throughout the series that HongKongPhooey himself is actually quite incompetent at beating crime. He's not really that good at things.
That doesn't bode well, does it?
It doesn't, no. But he does either, like on some episodes, Spot the cat will go around with him, and it would much more be Spot solves the crime, you know, like for him, and then he'll just kind of do like one last move that will catch the bad guy or whatever, but Spot does like 90% of the hard work.
See.
Or like on other episodes when Spot isn't about, it would be very much like he'll like beat the bad guys by accident or whatever, like, you know, something, he'll interact with the environment in some way. Think very much like Scooby-Doo does, where they'll be running away from something and like crash into the bad guy and then be like, oh, I've caught you by, you know, largely by fucking up. You know, it would be that sort of thing, you know. He does a lot of solving crime by accident or through his own inept action. But that being said, when he is actually fighting stuff, he's at least at the actual fighting, he's at least semi-competent at kung fu, even if a lot of his moves are just sort of weird made up things. So, you know, he's reasonable at fighting, he's just not particularly clever at the actual solving crime or figuring out who the bad guys and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's basically HongKongPhooey. So just kind of imagine he's a dog in karate gear that blunders through crime solving and then has fights with people.
Fair enough.
So those are our characters. Let's find out where they're fighting. And we do that by rolling the die of death.
Die of death.
So I feel like this might be the most complicated arena we've ever had. This is going to take some time to break down.
Okay.
Because it was suggested by our good friend and potential boss, Wilco.
Yeah, is it the MRI scanner?
It isn't.
Oh.
But no, it is Room 101 from the novel 1984.
God, I have no idea what that even is.
Right? So, Room
On the spot researching time.
Well, no, so Room 101 in the novel is basically a room they take to torture people, and they fill it with like that person's biggest fear.
Oh, so right. So that's where Room 101 comes from. The like show with whatever his nugget is.
Frank Skinner hosts it currently, but it's had a few different posts.
Yes.
But yes, that is where the term Room 101 comes from.
Right. Sure.
So yeah, it's basically a room that would be filled with the person's worst fear in order to psychologically torture them, if I remember correctly. I haven't read 1984, but I looked it up when he suggested it to me, but that was some quite time ago.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, that sentence was completely wrong, but you know what I meant.
What was the film from, sorry?
1984 is the book.
I mean, there's a little clip of a man looking very scared. What is the purpose of Room 1? A basement torture chamber in the Ministry of Love, in which the party attempts to subject a prisoner to their own worst nightmare, fear or phobia, with the object of breaking down their resistance.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, it is. Is it like a supernatural kind of room? Or do they have to fill it themselves?
I think they fill it themselves, but I'm pretty sure we can go into this assuming it will be pre-filled.
Right, what's going to be it for these people then? That's
what I'm just trying to look up, is what... the problem is there's no information on what HongKongPhooey is afraid of.
But it did look like a fairly small... ignore the psychological elements for now.
Mm-hmm.
It did look like a fairly small underground chamber room.
Yeah.
But then prepared for their fears. I have an idea for what her fear might be, but I don't have a necessary,
I don't know. What have you thought of?
Well, I mean, obviously, she's... Anak is very fueled by her revenge for her, her mother being killed. So, probably just... and she would have been a child at the time. The only thing I can really think of at the minute would be, like maybe videos of that on repeat on the wall.
Have like a wall of TVs and stuff.
Yeah.
Very much like a Clockwork Orange sort of style thing.
Sure, it's been a long time since I've seen it. What about for Dog Boy?
I mean, I don't know. There isn't any information on what HongKongPhooey is scared of. We can either go for some, like, default dog things. We could have a really giant Hoover. Or just something that like means he can't stop crime. Maybe like him himself being arrested. There's a thing here where it says like the sergeant always considers him. I mean, he doesn't like him as a janitor anyway. He thinks he's really lazy. But then doesn't like him as HongKongPhooey. Because he thinks because he's a vigilante, he's in the way of the police and stops them doing their job properly.
Right.
So maybe just some sort of like overinflated version of his boss, like the police sergeant, Sergeant Flynn.
Flint Cole.
Trying to stop him doing his Hong Kong work.
Alright, so tough choices. Okay, well what are you going to go for?
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be the sergeant specifically, but I think like someone trying to stop him, or the police trying to stop him, like doing his vigilante work, I think would be something he would certainly be against.
Okay, sure. Alright.
As there's like I say, literally nothing about what he's afraid of. I think I'm sort of having to pull it out of my arse slightly, but
that's alright. I was also having to do that. Alright, okay, so for some reason these Anak is in this room. I guess though it could start with just that one person and the TVs could be off, and then when What's His Nugget comes in, then the TVs can turn on.
Yeah, well that's it. I wouldn't want her to get to be pre-tortured before he even showed up.
To be pre-disadvantaged. So that works fine. So she's in there. She knows he's coming, and so she's prepared his fear maybe, or whatever. But little does she know that the TV screen walls are prepared for her in a similar vein. So I guess Anak's just, hanging around in the room, do whatever she's doing. What's happening?
Well, I mean, I feel like in only the way that a flying kick could, HongKongPhooey's going to bust open the door to the room and be like, I'm here.
Lovely. I am here.
Yeah, it is I, HongKongPhooey, here to stop you in your crime.
In your crime. At which point he notices whatever it was that you said.
Yeah, I think it's going to be some sort of police force trying to be like, hey, you can't be a vigilante anymore. We've got to stop that. I feel like that's something that he'd be afraid of, like at least opposed to.
Yeah, well, he probably has a lot of fun being a vigilante, doesn't he?
And I just think he's got like it's a sense of it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the TV's all turn on, and somehow there's recordings of Anak's mum being topped. We don't know why there are recordings of it, but there are, and they're being played from multiple different angles in that classic supervillain-esque way, or from different angles. And she's like ah. What do you think would Mr. HongKongPhooey,
he's the number one super guy,
the number one super guy, what is his reaction likely to be?
I think largely confusement. You know, he would be like, well, it's not good, is it? They're seeing all these videos of this person being murdered. Why are they even on? I just don't think he'd like that, even if it's not like, because it's just not good. It's just a bad thing.
You're not wrong. It is a bad thing.
Yeah, and this is the other thing, right? Like I say, he's the number one super guy. He's just a friendly chap. I very much feel like he'd be like, well, I like watching this person get murdered over and over is just not good. I'm just going to turn that off.
Well, I don't think he has the ability to turn it off.
What about if he smashes the screens with his kung fu powers?
I mean, yeah, he'd be able to do that. I mean, I'm pretty sure Anak would have a similar reaction where at first she would see it and then be like, what is this? What is this? And then kind of, like go into one of those sad, angry rages.
Yeah, scream crying.
Scream crying. And then probably just, get really scream. I don't know, this isn't a 2-second deal. This is like like standing there, getting mega upset, getting mega angry, and then probably just full hell for leather with the sword to get rid of all the screens. That, if she's uninterrupted, that's gonna take her like a good 30 seconds of development.
This is the other thing, right? Is I imagine that, again, even knowing that they're supposed to fight, because obviously they always do, I feel like HongKongPhooey would be like, well, I don't want to fight her while she's sad, So he'd be like, oh man, she's really sad and that's bad. So let's go and break all the TVs and then we'll have a fight after.
Oh, I mean, if he's that kind of guy, that's his own downfall.
Well, you say that, but here's my thought.
All right.
So he often solves crime and defeats bad guys and stuff due to the consequence of his actions, even though it's not intended.
Right. Yep.
So I feel like he's gonna start smashing TVs and the shit because he's like, well, I don't want to, I don't want to watch this person being murdered. This person clearly is much more affected by it than I am, so they really don't want to watch this person being murdered. Let's go bust up some TVs. And he's gonna start kung fu kicking TVs left, right, and centre, causing either just the TVs themselves or at least the shattered glass of their screens to cover Anak in a rain of glass, which he doesn't intend to do because he's trying to do a nice thing.
I mean, he would also be affected by this glass if he's literally kicking the screen. I don't know if you've ever kicked a window, but it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, I very much feel like due to the nature of his character, somehow he wouldn't be. Again, much like meaning to sound like last episode, but cartoon physics and the such, he'll know how to kick them in such a way.
What's he doing about his own troubles in there? Is he just leaving them be?
For now, if they're not bothering him, he's probably blissfully unaware of them.
Blissfully unaware.
Yeah, I very much feel like he's going to be because if you walk in a room, I assume it's somewhat dim lit if it's trying to do the dramatic TV thing.
Yeah.
And then a whole wall of TVs, I imagine, suddenly come on with images of murder. I imagine you're going to be very much that will take up your attention. You won't go, oh look, there's a policeman over there who doesn't like me.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably not wrong.
So I feel like for now, he's going to be jump kicking the TVs, doing all this kung fu stuff. Glass is going to be raining into Anak. It's completely unintentional, but it's slightly damaging potentially.
All right. Oh, okay. I mean, so I was imagining literally the whole room being coated in these TVs, all 4 walls and the ceiling, but not the floor. Not the floor, obviously. That's ridiculous.
Sure. Okay. I mean, it could be all 4 walls and the ceiling, but even so, he's going to start off on one wall, doing his kicks and stuff. Yeah. Whatever point you feel like the police intervention that's going to try and stop him is going to become more active, you just let me know. But for now,
I mean, I feel like they've got to try and do something. He's now damaging property.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Completely unintentionally, he's also kicking all this broken glass into Anak.
Yeah, in terms of what that's going to be doing, Anak isn't going to be, this is, as I said, it's going to be quite a slow development of emotions going from, oh my God, to, well, like angry, oh my God, to really sad, oh my God, back to furious, back to releasing the rage with fully ignited sword.
Mm-hmm.
Like, over 30 seconds odd time.
Yeah.
So, what's his nugget? HongKongPhooey, that's his new name.
HongKongPhooey.
Yep, HongKongPhooey.
No, it's still Phooey.
Yeah, I know. So, meanwhile, while Anak's going through this development, I'm going to call it development, Kung Poochie, HongKongPhooey, is going around and smashing up some tellies, and the police are chastising him, but he's probably mostly not noticing that at the minute. Some glass is, definitely getting blown and kicked in Anak's direction. And, falling glass is known to cut people. She's not going to be avoiding it, so there's no reason to say that she wouldn't get, an amount of small cuts to her. I imagine most of them would be, due to her. A, she stood fairly still as she's going through this development, in inverted commas. And then B, because of her enhanced durability bloodline, they'll probably mostly be fairly superficial. I wouldn't have thought, especially as they're only going to be like, shoulders. It's not like under the elbow or under the knees or, the back of the ankle kind of places. It's just as it falls down. Yeah. It's not it's not targeted in detrimental places. So she'll definitely be cut, but I imagine most of it would be rather superficial. Although she will be bleeding, and that'll be sad for her. But it's not as sad for her as watching her mum get killed over and over again. So,
well, no, obviously,
yeah. Is Kung Poochie gonna just the names that come up for your characters? I can't remember their names. You could just make a whole list of alternate names. Is he just going to be doing this for the whole time until either they're all destroyed? Well, until they're all destroyed.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's just going to carry on until either the police interference that's supposed to be there to stop him actually, starts trying to hinder him, or until she does something different. I think until then, yeah, he's just going to be like, man, this sucks, I'm going to try and stop it.
All right, well, I mean, I don't think he'll be able to destroy all the tellies in time. I'm not quite sure about the police interference. They'll probably be trying to run and grab him, but if he's doing some jumps around and stuff, they're probably comically missing a little bit. Yeah,
and again, I feel like with his problems being solved due to his own ineptitude and stuff, there's no reason why some of the falling glass isn't hitting them. And
oh, absolutely, yeah. There's going to be troubles all round. But after Anak's development, I'm doing inverted commas in this every time, as an observer, you would see in her face drop, and then you just see this green, she just withdraws this green sword, and it just starts whipping all the rest of the TVs in the room. She probably hasn't even noticed most of the TVs that Kung Poochie has destroyed, because she would have sunk into this pit of woe and despair and fury, and now that fury is about to be released. And that's just, if you thought there was glass before, it's gonna be even more glass now. Oh yes, there will be glass
everywhere.
It's a massacre. Glass, it just starts trolling the sword whips are just decimating, and it would be quite chaotic. It wouldn't be target that TV, target that TV, target that TV. It would just be chaotic slashing for a period of time until she's satisfied that the job is probably done.
I mean, obviously, she's going to be starting doing that, and I feel because she's not going to be paying attention to where the whip blade things are going, because like you say, she's not doing it TV by TV, it's all chaotic and all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not going to hit her because she's controlling them, but she isn't going to be there's no targeting of anything else.
Yeah, but this is the thing. So, I mean, although they're not necessarily aiming for him, I feel like some of them will come in HongKongPhooey's direction.
Yeah, it's quite possible that he would get caught in some crossfire, per se.
And I think what he'll do is he'll get out his Hong Kong Kung Fu book of tricks, and and then he'll be like, oh, wait, I know exactly what I need to deflect these. And he'll flip through a few pages and then be like, yes, the Udon Tornado. Which, again, I mean, I have no idea whether that is a thing he's ever done, but that sounds...
I love it, though.
It'd be that sort of vibe is what he'll get out of it. And
it sounds great. I love it.
Yeah, and he'll spin round in such a way to deflect the blades without taking too much damage. Whenever they come near him.
Yeah.
Because Kung Fu powers.
Kung Fu powers, indeed. Is he gonna focus on actually trying to get near Anak at all, or is he gonna just be Udon Tornadoing?
Yeah, he's just
on the defensive until shit's calmed down a little.
Yeah, that's it. It's very much like I don't want to die from these flailing blades.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the policeman here get somewhat shreked.
Get shreked?
Yeah, get shreked. You never heard me say get shreked before?
I don't think so.
I use it instead of get wrecked. I got
that.
Get shreked, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for the audience, that's with a T at the end. So not like get Shrek and then, not as if become a massive ogre or get sent on a mission to get back your swamp and fall in love with a princess, or get unconfident in yourself to turn yourself into a man. Whatever adventures does he go on? I don't know.
Everyone forgot who he was because of Rumpelstiltskin. He had to do something with the prince in the third one, but the third one was the worst one. Shrek's 1 and 2 both. Well, Shrek 1 is one of the best films ever made. Shrek 2 is also pretty decent, and then Shrek 3 was really shit. And then Shrek 4 is better than 3, but not as good as 1 and 2.
It's a bold statement saying it's one of the best films ever made.
One of the best films ever made. I love the first Shrek film.
It was good. I wouldn't go that far, but that's opinions.
It's one of my favourite films of all time.
Now that is an opinion that I can agree with.
Yeah, I think Shrek 1 is one of my favourite films. It's very good.
As in, I can agree with that. It's one of your favourite films. Anyway, so Udon Tornadoing in the corner, managing to enhance and avoid most of the damage from this chaotic slasher. The police officers don't have the knowledge, the intimate ability of Udon Tornadoing. They are removed, shall we say. That's a polite way of saying they're mutilated and destroyed.
Somewhat rendering this just a normal room.
Yeah, full of broken glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is it's always hard to do these things. We don't know anything about Room 101. Wilco will tell us that we did it all wrong, but that's not our problem. And after an undisclosed period of time, the sword whip flailing stops, and it reverts back to its kind of hook form in her hand. Anak's in that kind of shake heavy breathing period, and there's broken glass just everywhere, and TV's sparking, and the dust is settling, and she's still kind of angry, trembling. She'll probably be in that kind of state for either another small period of time or until she's otherwise disturbed by something which brings her attention to what is actually supposed to be happening at hand, and which is a fight between these two people.
Oh yeah, okay. How's she going to start the fight?
Well, I mean, is Hong Kong Dog, is he going to do anything, or is he going to wait for her to compose herself?
When she's ready, then he'll start the fight. Or they'll start the fight. The fight will begin.
Sorry. So, I mean, wow. It's a shame he's such a nice person, really. He has ample opportunity to do something.
Yes. I mean, to be fair, he's probably quite dizzy from tornadoing.
Yeah, his eyes are just rolling in the corner.
Yeah, there's little stars going around his head, and
And for some reason, there are noodles around him.
Yeah, he doesn't know how he got them, but he does have a bowl of udon noodles.
Yeah. So Anak, after another 30 seconds, a minute, manages to compose herself, and obviously then notices Udon Dog. She already has her sword in her hand. Yeah, Udon Dog. She already has her green apple in her hand, in its non-ignited form, so there's no reason for her to put it away or not use it. And she's not the kind, she's been through loads of tests and stuff in the tower. She's not the kind of person who'd be like, oh, thank you for your help, just straight down to business. Probably just gonna launch straight at him with a kind of hooky slash attack, and yes, that will hurt a bit because she's launching off of loads of broken glass, but she'll be able to, if Bruce Willis can manage it, Zahard can manage it.
Well, I think as she launches towards him, he'll try, and I think he'll launch towards her. She'll fly at him, he'll jump kick towards her. What could possibly go wrong?
Fair. I mean, I think that would be... I don't think she'd be necessarily expecting that.
Exactly.
And the broken glass is gonna, slow her down a little bit. So her strike would probably, because I was imagining like a jump forward and then like a go for a slash. It would throw off her timing a lot. I don't imagine it would be a very effective striker. I don't imagine she'd even hit him. Maybe catches him with her arm instead of the sword, because he goes closer. What are his kicks like in his world?
I mean, I think, again, like most anthropomorphic animals, you should probably just assume he has traits similar to human.
All right, so he probably does manage to land a kick into her.
Yeah, I mean, like, because it's supposed to be his skill at kung fu that makes him dangerous. He doesn't have, like, superpowers as such.
Yeah.
I mean, he is feared by all criminals, and like the general public do adore him and think he's brilliant and stuff. So, I mean, he's obviously got a reputation for being a good crime stopper.
Yeah. I mean, is that just because all the criminals are incredibly inept?
Possibly, yes. I mean, you know how cartoons are. Like I say, it's very much of the era of, if you've not seen it, like HongKongPhooey, it's very Scooby-Doo-esque. I mean, that's also Hanna-Barbera, isn't it? So it's like a very similar style of bad guy. Or
what we're saying is he's really good at stopping really mediocre criminals.
Yeah. And like I said, and largely he stops them either because he gets help from Spot or just because he happens to sort of almost do it by accident.
Okay, so anyway, this leaping towards each other, I would imagine that Anak has a bit more momentum than him.
Makes sense if she's got super strength.
Yeah, and I just imagine her to be a bulkier character, to be honest. Even though he's like a big dog, and she's a lizard person.
He's not like a massively big dog, if I'm honest with you.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, she almost certainly has a bit more momentum than him. But also the sword probably won't strike true. And he's going for a kick. I mean, the kick's going to land, but I'm not sure how much it's going to impact her. I mean, obviously she's going to feel it, but I don't think it's going to be like a debilitating blow.
No, you feel like there's a significant strength between the two of them.
Yes. So, they're probably both going to get thrown off balance. Anak will probably, tumble onto the floor. I imagine HongKongPhooey will probably also...
I think they're both going to, like, hit the floor in a like, load of broken glass.
Yes. Yeah, they're both going to land in a bunch of broken glass.
It's going to really hurt.
It is going to really hurt.
Be generally unpleasant for everyone.
It's going to be unpleasant for everyone. All two of them. All both of them. I imagine that Anak would more land roughly in line with where she was going, and Phooey boy would probably land a bit more off track to the side a bit somewhere. But either way, they're both going to be landing on the floor in an unpleasant scenario of smashed TV glass, which is fun for all the family. Anak, because she'll be trying to just push through the pain and stuff because she believes she can take old Phooey dog boy. And it's well within her character to push through the pain, to push through and see it to end point. I don't know what old doggy doo-doo's going to do.
Well, I mean, I suppose he's there to stop her, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, that is ideally what he would do.
Well, I mean, like, normally he fights criminals. I understand she's not a criminal, but in the purpose of this, I suppose she is, really, because she's the defender of my bullier. So,
yes.
He'd be like, look, I need to stop her because she's bad. And that's what superheroes do, is they stop the bad people. Mm-hmm. So I feel like he'd get up, he'd pull out his Hong Kong book of Kung Fu tricks.
The classic.
Yeah, he'd be like, oh man, I need to find the manoeuvre that will save me now. We'll flick through a few pages and be like, oh yeah, the Kung Pao Karate Chop.
Kung Pao Karate Chop.
And then he'll do what I can only imagine would be some sort of like, I don't know why I've got this in my mind, it just seems like the most ridiculous cartoon thing you could think of. And he's going to do like a cartwheel into a karate chop.
What is the worst way to transport yourself across a room full of crushed grass? Obviously the actual answer is the worm. That's the worst way. What would be?
But second to that,
second to that is the cartwheel. I love it. So Anak, in the meantime, while he's booking up, Anak will have landed on the floor, got herself up and patted the glass off her where needed. Noticed he's flicking through a book, and it's just like that's a bit weird. All right, I'll wait to see what he does with this book of his. She's gonna be confident that she can beat him anyway. Even if it was no matter who it is, she's gonna be confident that she can beat them. Even if she absolutely couldn't beat them, she'd be confident because that's just her.
She's like, oh man, that really hurt. I just landed pretty bad into all this broken glass. She sort of picks herself up, maybe pulls a couple of like shards out of her arm or something, looks over. He's sat there just reading this little book, and she's like, what? And then he suddenly closes it and just announces, Kung Pao Karate Chop, that'll work.
And she's like, okay. Gets into like, you know, like the cool defensive stance where, you know, you're like, you're 1 foot back, that's the one with the sword in hand, and like an arm out in front, defensive ready. You know, he's just announced he's gonna do some kind of attack.
Yeah, but even so, I don't imagine she's going to expect him to do what he's going to do.
No, I'm not saying she'll expect that at all. But if it's called a karate chop, she is expecting it to be a physical combat.
Yes.
Therefore, she can take a defensive position, ready to strike, and doesn't, you know, she probably doesn't need to worry about it being a projectile. It's a reasonable assumption on her part that if someone slams a book shut and announces, I'm going to do the whatever karate chop, that they're going to do some kind of karate chop. So yeah, she'll just get ready to, like, you know, proper sword hook him in it, wherever she can sword hook him.
Sure. So this is how I imagine it, right? Yeah, it's like HongKongPhooey's going to line up. He'll put whatever his karate chopping arm will be what leads.
Yep.
So he'll put that arm on the floor. Then it will be the other arm. Then it will be the leg on the, you know, the first leg, second leg. Yep. And then as he, where instead of the first arm going back to the floor, it comes down as a chop on top of Anak.
I could see it in my head. It looks funky.
You know, he may or may not have got a bit of glass stuck in his hands and feet, but that might make the chop more dangerous. I think it would, due to the accidental nature of him being brilliant. He'll now have a shard of glass sticking out of his hand, I mean, obviously it will hurt him, I'm not denying that, but it will make the chop that much more deadly.
I love it. Right, so he starts cartwheeling towards her. She might not be expecting it.
She's like, right, he's going to do a karate chop. The fuck?
But at the same time, how fast can you cartwheel? I mean, I can't cartwheel at all, so it's not really a good question. The point I'm trying to make is, if people think of the fastest ways of moving with your legs, isn't a cartwheel. So, although, you know, if he was to land a karate chop, you know, due to his accidental boons and advantages, the chop would probably be more deadly. I am fairly confident that Anak would be able to either dodge out the way in time, or just, while he's doing a cartwheel, how vulnerable are you while you're doing a cartwheel? I'll give you a clue, it's pretty vulnerable. Also, when you think, what's the most defensible way I can get from point A to B with my legs? Is cartwheel top of the list? No, cartwheel is not top of the list. Cartwheel is right down the bottom of the list, with just laying on the floor, spreading my legs. You know, it leaves you quite open, I think you'd agree. So I'd imagine HongKongPhooey would go to do this, tuck his book away, go to do this excellent cartwheel, and Anak could see this cartwheel coming a mile off after being like, what the fuck is doing a cartwheel? And just slide to the side, or step to the side, or jump to the side, something to the side, and go for a nice sweeping jab. As it's got a hook, you know, imagine bringing the sword out and trying to just like yank the hook, which would be facing her, into him somewhere, to just completely pull him off balance, and also render it into his doggy flesh.
I think she'd be quite successful in that. I think she would quite severely render his doggy flesh, especially as he's got momentum going the opposite direction to what she's pulling because of his cartwheel.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be well and truly messed up. He's then going to be off balance and collapse into yet more broken glass.
Yes.
He's then going to be a bleeding, whimpering mess on the floor, ready for Anak to probably go and do some sort of finishing blow.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have done this excellent cartwheel. It starts off looking amazing from a spectator.
Oh, yeah. Like, let's be honest, nobody can knock the cartwheel. 10 out of 10 cartwheel.
Yeah. Well, it was 10 out of 10 for the first, 3 contacts, but as Anak deftly darts to the side and, swings the sword around and yanks it back, it digs into his side as he's kind of just getting back to upright, pulls him completely off his balance, and he tumbles on his side into the broken glass on the floor with a muchos pain in his side, and then other places. As you say, Anak would probably go for some kind of finishing blow, and I mean, the hook is also fairly swordy. She's already got it out There's no reason to go over to him and punch him. Might as well sword hook from this distance. Probably just going to go for some straight, like a kind of decapitating slice style.
Yeah, and then he dies.
Oh, he was just a dog.
I like that you've had no idea who this character is, but you've got quite attached to them over this episode.
I'm not attached. Not at all. Let's put it this way. I'm less attached than his head. It's a dog, Alec.
It's a crime-fighting kung fu dog.
Yeah, who would have thought that a crime-fighting kung fu dog who is mediocre at martial arts would have lost to a combat...
He's pretty good at martial arts. He's just mediocre at solving crime. He's not clever, but he's a good boy.
He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Would have lost to a combat-driven battle lizard. Obviously, she's not a battle lizard, but it sounds cool, doesn't it?
She's just one up from Battle Snake.
Yeah. I don't feel like there was any arena where he could have triumphed. As mentioned when we had a technical issue in the break, it is a shame that both your similar-ish characters came up in a row in a sequence.
Yeah.
But that is the way of the world sometimes.
Yeah. I think Perry would have had more chance of winning against some people than HongKongPhooey would.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shame that the two sort of kind of silly cartoon character ideas I had came up one after the other.
But that's random for you.
Well, that's it. It was one of those things I sort of thought, should I just be like, no, I'll use a different character? But then I thought, no, let's not jeopardise the integrity of the show.
The integrity of the RN Jesus.
That's it. We have 6 characters on our list, and they're determined by a D6, and we have 20 arenas, which is determined by the Die of Death, the magical D20.
It is so. It is justice.
That's it. But we now have a 7th Hall of Fame member.
She's earned her Mish. She's earned her Mash. She's earned her Mayhem. AnakZahard, or Zahard, I'm really not sure. It kind of changes. From Tower of God enters the Hall of Fame. And you know what that means?
2 new characters next episode.
2 new characters next episode. It was always going to be a new character from myself, but it also is a new character from you. So, my character is famously from a cartoon as well, although I wouldn't call them they are from a cartoon, but you wouldn't necessarily call them a cartoon-style character. Do you know what I mean?
It's more of a grounded cartoon. It's not just going to be...
It's grounded in a way, yes. And they've also been in... They're So Money Supermarket.
What?
They're So Money Supermarket. I appreciate if you're not from England, you probably haven't seen that advert, which was around several months to years ago. And it'll just blow over you and you'll be like, what the hell are you on about, mate? But for those of you who've seen the advert, you know what I'm on about, and you've narrowed it down to one of 2.
I've probably seen the advert at some point. I can't.
They have a really cool laugh. Cool is an interesting word. Their laugh is like it's very identifying.
Okay.
There you go. Identifying laugh. They're So Money Supermarket cartoon character.
As far as I can remember, they've not been on a Money Supermarket ever. Also, they would definitely come under a similar vein of cartoon that I've just been using, like stupid cartoon, not even slightly grounded. The only stupid character cartoon character I can think of with a distinctive laugh is Woody Woodpecker.
It's not Woody Woodpecker.
No, but that is distinctive. So this character is, as far as I'm aware, is only in the TV series of this and isn't in the games. But this TV show is there's a Netflix manga style TV show. Obviously, it's not a manga because it's American. But it's done in done in anime style, sorry, not manga, but you know what I mean.
I knew what you meant, yeah.
Yeah. But that's based on a very famous game series. Okay. And this is the main character from the Netflix show. Very good show. And it's very gothic.
And it's very gothic?
It's very gothic.
I don't know what it is.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, so he's the main character of a gothic anime style Netflix show based on a very famous series of games. I believe the first one of these games was on the SNES.
Is it? Oh, I have an idea now, but if it is, I didn't know there was a Netflix series. But is it something to do with Devil May Cry?
It's not Devil May Cry. There is an anime of Devil May Cry. It wasn't on Netflix, but
yeah, the thing that's throwing me off is the on Netflix thing.
It was a Netflix original series.
I know there's been a lot of Van Helsing stuff, but that's not really based on games. So I'm really struggling to marry up all the parts.
That's fair. But yeah, it's not just like on Netflix, it's a Netflix-made series. Yeah, based on a series of games. I think the first one was on the SNES, and the most recent one, I don't think there's been any on for a little while. There might have been one on PS4 and Xbox One. It might have actually been the most recent one, might even be PS3, not sure. Unfortunately, like, I really like the TV show, but it's not a series of games I've ever played. I'm just sort of aware of them.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I found out what it is.
Okay.
Because I just literally went onto Netflix, and then there's like, in series there's a popular one. So I think I know what it is, but
Sure.
I won't say it for the audience.
But I mean, it's a very good show. If you haven't watched it, I would.
They look very pointy.
But yeah, so that's the character I will be bringing next time.
That'll be interesting. That'll be 4 hours ago.
Wow. Alright. So, if you want to contact us and tell us how you thought that fight would have gone, you can do so by emailing us at podcastmmm@tinkertailorsoldierspanish.com. If you want to suggest new characters to take up the fray, if you think you know who could be the last Hall of Famer, then feel free to suggest it. Or if you want to suggest places for them to fight, if you think Room 101 was far too highbrow for this podcast, and you want to suggest your own idea, you can do that over on the Twitter at podcastmmm, or if you just want to like drop by and have a chat, you can do that at either of those places. That's fine too. Similarly, if you think you've got a stupid question you want Wade to ask at the beginning that we may or may not ignore, feel free to give us those.
I love it.
Yeah. So, Mr. Wade, any final thoughts?
No.
No? Alright, fair. Bye everyone.
Catch you all late.
Join Tom and Rob for your essential fortnightly dip into the world of British and American politics. We read all the boring stuff, so you don't have to.
And I also like to think that our kind of characteristic banter adds to the show. I ask Rob most of the questions, and Rob provides the insights, don't you, Rob?
Yes, I do, and I just tend to witter on and 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 on over you. But that's fine, because people listen to it for me.